This show is presented by the 323 Network. You can watch all your favorite 323 friends and shows on the 323 Network YouTube channel, follow us on all social media platforms at 323read, and support us as we continue to grow at patreon.com/323read. That's 323REID. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 323. I am your host, Reed Murphy. Happy post-Super Bowl funk to you and all, ladies and gentlemen. It's the full NFL season hangover that we're having. We usually do the Sunday hangover until the the Dan Le Batard show wanted to steal that and make it the Monday hangover. Whatever. We got the full NFL season hangover here, and we're doing it with the two best friends that anyone can have post-Vegas hangover. We have Scott Ellia of the 323 College Shame Day and Zuhair Ali of the Animation Deliberation Podcast. Good to see you guys as always. And look, before we get into all the usual hijinks and the fun of everything, Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs, they won for the second year in a row. First repeat since the 03-04 Patriots. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the season. We'll talk about the commercials, everything, all the fun of it. But we do first have to dive into what happened just in the middle of this post-Super Bowl week, which was the Kansas City Chiefs having their celebration parade and gunshots ring out during this. It was a whole fun event that was happening. I kept getting great updates about, Chris Jones and Mahomes dancing and all this stuff. And then get the first update from, Ari Mirov, my sports update, that there have been gunshots, there have been shots fired at the parade. Everything's clearing out. People have been shot. And just every notification just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. I believe there were 11 people wounded at the time. The shooters that did this were apprehended and taken down. There's video of some getting taken down by fans during all of this, but you also had children who were shot and wounded, put in the hospital. There's only been one death reported as of this recording on Thursday night, but it was said from Kansas City police that a preliminary investigation found that the shooting at the Chiefs Super Bowl parade appears to be the result of an argument between two groups of people that ended in gunfire. The suspects being held have not been charged yet. And just through all of this, everybody does the usual thoughts and prayers whenever there's these shootings, these mass shootings, whatever happens at these things. But it's just enraging and bullshit, and it's exhausting to see this continuously happen. And we don't want to dive. I don't want to do that whole thing where we dive into the politics of it all and the ultra seriousness of it. But then it brings it back to these people who always scream at athletes of keep politics out of sports. Keep it out of sports. I just want my sports. I want that coverage. I don't want to hear about, mass shootings. I don't want to hear about, racism. And I think this is a case, and I'll ask you guys if you believe that it's possible to keep politics out of sports in any case, or if it's even responsible to keep things like this out of sports and allow athletes to speak on it, allow sports journalists to cover it, because at the end of the day, to me, it always bleeds in, right? And this is the most literal time that it has. We've never seen this happen at a victory parade from any sport where you have a disaster of this type of situation, of this level. And it makes you feel helpless to an extent, to where you don't know where are you supposed to be able to do anything without the fear of something like this happening now. But how do you all feel just about politics and sports and discussion of sports? Or do you want sports to be able to just wash over everything and be the distraction from other stuff? Or does it get dangerous when you allow sports to be a distraction?
I mean, I enjoy it as a distraction, but for it's in any industry when people become that popular and that renowned and all eyes are on them, they take the opportunity to have a platform. So whether they, are going through something themselves or have experienced something that they want to share, like you can't really harp on them for being human beings that have to live in the society, right? Like, yeah, we try to make the most out of them as for sports specifically as entertainers for 17 guaranteed games out of the year, but like they're human beings at the end of the day. I mean, like all these reports from the shooting I was getting from ESPN, which I thought was the oddest thing. Like it wasn't any other news outlet that was going out of my phone. It wasn't the Apple News app that was like telling me anything on my phone. It was ESPN that I was getting all these pop-ups on. So I mean, at the end of the day, like news is news. People experience either live things like for the amount of players and coaches and staff that were in this parade, like you expect them to go on the rest of their lives now, just like totally ignoring something that like directly affected them and their families. So as much as we would like for the world to be a happy place where we can just sit and enjoy sports, like that's just not the reality of it.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like I think it's a willful ignorance to use sports as kind of like the blinders to the reality of the world. These athletes, they're not robots out there on the field or on the court. They're human beings with opinions and thoughts and feelings about certain things. I mean, and they're entitled to those things. You might not like it, but you have to respect it. I mean, I'm sure, there's been times where me and Reed have had discussions, me and Zoo have had discussions. Yeah, sometimes it's about witty banter and really, irrelevant topics. But I mean, there's been times where serious things that come up and we don't necessarily agree 100% with things, but at the end of the day, you still should respect people's opinions. And, really what I feel like this is going to open up to is our teams our team's going to start looking at these parades, these celebrations that should be about, celebrating the team and the success and, the banding a city together. Are they going to have to start rethinking how they're going to be going after this and having a repeat? Because if you look at the statistics to everything, I know it's only February and the 2023 stats haven't really came out, but I mean, 14 of the top 30 dangerous cities have major sports in them. So, Kansas City falls at like number 5 or number 6 as far as, dangerous cities in regards to like violent crimes. But our team's gonna have to pivot away from doing these massive parades, just doing like a, first come, first serve kind of celebration at the stadiums or like some kind of venue or that point. Because I can tell you, I mean, Reed, you work with kids. I have kids. Zoo's a kid at heart. Like, like not I already wouldn't want to bring them to that kind of a situation, no matter how big of a fan I was of whatever team won the championship. But this even further pushes me in the other direction. Like there's no way I'm going to an area with like I think what was the estimate? Like 1 million people
Yeah,
were there.
it was about a million
It was
civilians. Yeah.
right. It's like there's no way I'm taking them out in that kind of a crowd because you have idiots like this who get in a scuffle and they completely forget their surroundings. They forget that there's 1 million people around them and it's not an isolated incident. You're gonna have innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire.
Dude, I was at the Virginia Beach Convention Center last Saturday because they had the gun show over here. And one of the first booths that I saw when I walked in was ballistic padding that you could put in your kid's backpack.
Mm.
That's what the craziest thing is to me. Like you said, I work with kids and we do intruder drills and active shooter drills with them, and they're just so like they're great at it. They do it just completely nonchalantly. They are quick about it. They take it seriously to an extent, but to them now, like to kids now, it's just like what a fire drill was to us
Right. It's
as
just
kids.
second
Like,
nature at this point, which is
right.
sad.
You're just ready for it. And there's sometimes like and I get used to it too, but then there are just sometimes I just look at it and I was like, this is insane to me that this is the reality now. And I was with the kids while this was going down and just seeing the numbers and the news that there were kids separated, there were kids shot. And ultimately that's what's going to happen. What you said about, the death of the parade in whole, because instead of actual, some type of legislation being attacked towards, any discussion towards any type of gun control or some type of legislation there, it will turn to the parade and be the parade's fault. And you won't see, I would bet that you won't see victory parades like this for sports anymore. It will be something contained to where police can know the entrances and the exits, because ultimately this could have been a lot worse. And it's big credit to the people who took down the shooters, but it's also just the scary fact that this was just a disagreement. This apparently some type of disagreement, a dispute, an argument. Don't know what the exact nature of it was, but it just seemed like these were strays that were being shot. Not anything with not intention to hurt these, the innocent civilians. And I mean, that's a massive wake up call to not only the NFL but the police in these cities. And when having these types of events, that this could have been one of the biggest disasters in our history in this country, even though there's been a shit ton of them over the recent years, which is awful and terrifying to think of. I'm sure there'll be more news from this. We'll have more updates on what exactly happened, and probably more statements from the NFL, but ultimately everything is just going to keep moving on. We will try to attack the discussion at other times too, but we will get into what led to the parade, and that being Super Bowl week and all. It was a exhausting ass week last week. I don't
I don't know how you survived with recording every single day, and then going into the weekend, and then you had Super Bowl Sunday going on. I don't know how you survived.
Well, the fact that it was also just a visual, it was we're so visual heavy now that I didn't take into account. I was like, oh, I got to edit the visual part of this show every day now too. But it was fun, and I'm really grateful to you guys being there and to everybody that contributed.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Yes, exactly. Subscribe on YouTube, the 323 Network on YouTube, where you can see our beautiful faces. You can also see our beautiful faces in person. March 8th is what we're saying. We know it's March 8th, Friday, March 8th, 9:15 p.m. Yeah, it needed to be loud because this is an exciting time. We're back at AwesomeCon. We're going to be there doing the Unfamily Geeky Family Feud, and we'll have more and more details on that. We'll have nice promos for it. But AwesomeCon in Washington, D.C., you can see us. Shit, you can see Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum of Smallville right before us in the exact same room, and then you can just chill and wait for us, which I'm already mentally preparing for their autograph line or whatever is going to happen after their show bleeding into our show. But shit, might get them to play the feud.
There's that, and my thing is anyone scheduled to come on after us? Or are we the last ones?
I think we're the last ones in that room.
So
after party.
Yeah. So based off of last year and how much we had to scramble to get everything together because the other people ran over their time, I think having a line form for their autographs wouldn't be the worst thing.
No,
at least that way it gives us time to jump on the stage and actually get everything put together, because they don't give you a big window.
No, they did not, and that's why we did not have music to accompany our whole panel.
And did we have something that we needed to hand out before the show too?
We have answer sheets.
Yeah, so while the people are in the line, we could just be handing out the sheets. Like, yo, save this for the next segment. Stick around.
Hey, do you need something to be autographed? Here's this answer sheet. You can just hang around.
You're gonna have to hold on to it for the next segment, anyways.
Here's this QR code. Don't sign on the QR code, but here's the. No, it'll be a great time, and all of this leads into that. Last week was Super Week. We made it. We survived. Super Bowl has happened. The Kansas City Chiefs are the victors once again. Yeah, shaking your heads. It's shaking your heads. But it was, I think, an exciting Super Bowl. I think it was an exciting game. I think it was one of my favorites, even though it was pretty defensive heavy. But, man, I was stressed the hell out by the end of that game. I was on the edge of my seat watching that shit.
You were stressed. You're the person you were viewing the game was probably more stressed than you were.
She gave up around halftime, just kind of gave in. She was like, yeah, this is, the 49, Brock Purdy can have it. And then once it started going, once they made that comeback, the stress was real over there. And yeah, I think the viewership for this was 123 million viewers.
Screw you, moon landing.
Yeah, exactly. This is the high. That's how big. That's how big the NFL is. The NFL, this was the biggest event since we went to the fucking moon. like, like it's
Listen, and they know how to market that because I am now a proud subscriber to Paramount Plus.
damn right. Did you see?
It was bigger than the moon because they had a star in the booth.
You beat me to the sound.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll ask you guys just like your full reactions and thoughts from everything on this, from the Super Bowl, from the game itself, halftime with Usher, which I've got thoughts on Usher. I've got thoughts on that halftime show. I think
Beats has thoughts on that too.
Swizz Beats better have thoughts. I was disappointed by Swizz Beats' thoughts because that was questionable, and I was very surprised to see Alicia Keys, but also very pleased to see Alicia Keys.
So was
And
Usher.
yeah, Usher got in there. So we'll go over the commercials. I know Zoo's got commercial thoughts. I mean, I really want to get into the Kelsey stuff because I don't think CBS covered that nearly as well as they should have when that happened, of Travis Kelsey bumping into Andy Reid and screaming in his ear. Like, he almost knocked the poor old man over. And like, I could ask you, did Kelsey go too far? But the question I kind of have been thinking about, and from Chiefs fan Mama Murphy, who's very upset at Travis Kelsey for this. She does not like him for this. Did Andy Reid not handle it nearly as much or as well as he should have? Because it seemed like there was no consequence from that. I understand they love each other. They're probably going to monetize this into like a State Farm commercial where they're yelling about nuggies or something. But I didn't think. I thought he should have been benched for a series at least. Like, maybe not benched for the whole game. I know it's the Super Bowl. That'd be kind of crazy, but he should have been benched for a series. Just show him shamefully sitting on the bench or something. But I don't know what you all's thoughts regarding everything are, but whoever wants to kick it off can go ahead.
Big picture, it didn't really bother me too much. In the moment, it was kind of shocking, but like Kelsey got pulled on the play where was it Pacheco fumbled in the end zone or fumbled right before the end zone. So it's like there's context around it, and like both of them came out and said like he felt bad about it and hugged them and apologized and this and that. Like, we don't know what the relationship is like off the field. This is a very high tension game. It's one that they've been to a lot. We said that they got here just due to grit alone because, their offense wasn't holding up their end of the bargain. It was a shocker that their defense played as well as they did. So it's like and also we said it was a very defensive game. Like, that's got to be ridiculously frustrating for both of these offenses as well because they just could not get the ball moving. So I don't blame him that you pulled one of the best players for one play and then that one play like went to shit when like nobody was scoring for a while. So in the big picture of things, like, yeah, it's football, it's intense, but at the end of the day, like, it's not like he's consistently disrespectful to Reed. Like, we know how great of a relationship that whole team has. So it's in the at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. And the memes have been great.
Somehow it was Taylor's fault.
It's always Taylor's fault. But yeah, I'm just gonna take Andy Reid's lead. It's if he wants, however he wants to handle it, it's how he wants to handle it. And I think especially when you're on the biggest game of the year, yeah, you can send a message and sit him for a series, but at the end, what's that gonna do? It's not gonna really do anything. You would want to see him sit for the game, having that kind of a reaction, but he's always kind of had a track record to being explosive and being very reactionary and really wearing his quote unquote heart in his sleeve. But when you have all the lights on you, especially with Taylor Swift and blah 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 blah. I mean, I was seeing a lot of comments and messages about Taylor Swift after that should actually leave Travis Kelsey, showing his true colors. And you don't want to be around someone who's going to be aggressive like that.
No, big red flags. Big red flag energy.
It's gonna be the new Rihanna Chris Brown.
But if you want to ask me my overall takeaways from everything, Super Bowl, halftime show, commercials kind of included, it's just going to boil down to one word. It was mid. The Super Bowl was mid. All the way around. The Super Bowl game, predictable. We all knew this was going to happen. The NFL is going to squeeze every fucking penny they can out of that cash cow in Kansas City. So when they went down 10-3 going to the halftime, I was texting one of my brothers and he was like, "You think the Niners are going to get away with this?" Like, nope, they're going to come back. They're going to have overtime and they're going to win it in some comeback fashion. Which leads me to another thing. How the fuck do Niners players not know the overtime rules in the playoffs?
It's
Like
not like
that
they
seems to
get
be
there that often.
well, like they have meeting after meeting after meeting. They go over these rule changes from top to bottom. Like they should have known. And if they didn't know, then that's absolutely piss poor management from the San Francisco coaching staff. But other than that, yeah, I mean the commercials were meh. There's only like 3 that kind of stick out of my brain. Halftime show, meh. I enjoyed it. I liked listening to music. I got down a little bit, but um I have my own feelings about how these venues should handle their halftime shows and what artists they should book.
Well, okay, so there's a lot to dissect into there. I would go back to the overtime rules thing first, which is, I mean, Kyle Juszczyk let it out that he said he didn't know the overtime rules. He didn't know the new rules. This was the first time that they've done these overtime rules since they enacted it back in I think 3 years ago of that Chiefs Bills controversial
Mhm.
ending. And Kyle Shanahan kind of admitted that they didn't know it, but then he seemed to double down and say they did know it. He just did that on purpose because he wanted the third shot. He wanted to make sure that they have the third shot, which is also bullshit, or even worse, maybe it's dumber because there's no guarantee that you get the third shot, as we saw in this game where they did not get the third shot because they took the field goal on the first drive, which
Mhm.
I think at that point that's a fourth. If you have the ball on the first drive of this new overtime, you need to go for the touchdown. You can't settle for a field goal there, especially against Mahomes. We've all learned, like, this is one of my biggest things this year is to not doubt Mahomes. And at that point in the game, you know he's hot. You know that he's going to get down the field easily. I mean, we saw that when it got, I think they had a minute 50 left and kicked it back to the Chiefs. I was like, oh, yeah, this is overtime. Easy. He only needs like 30 seconds to get in the field goal range. What the hell are they doing? They'll be lucky if they get to overtime with the Niners. But I mean, uh, it's irritating with Kyle Shanahan. They use the defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes kind of as the scapegoat. He got fired right after the game, which you could kind of see happen during the game when I don't remember what play it was during the fourth quarter, but whatever defensive alignment there was, that you could see that McCole Hardman was going to burn the shit out of the 49ers. And Kyle Shanahan saw that too, called the timeout, and made Steve Wilkes fix that. Like that, he was like, "That's bad. That's bad." And it apparently happened again during overtime. So I guess it's a rightful scapegoat, but damn, Kyle Shanahan really is kind of like the new Andy Reid. Everybody's been saying
Yep.
it all week, but he really is now at this point. Andy Reid took forever to win a Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan has had 3 opportunities now, 2 as a head coach, and it just doesn't, like, something does not click in the second half. And I was very disappointed because you said it was predictable, Scott. And Zoo and I, the top 2 on Rick's versus Gricks postseason, we picked the 49ers. I had full belief in the 49ers leading into Sunday afternoon. I was all in. I was like, yo, I was like, Niners are going to get this first thing in 30 years. Like, there's no way, like, the Chiefs will make it a fight, but there's no way they're actually going to win this. It can't happen. This is too scripted. It's too storyline. Then the game was progressing. I was like, oh yeah, shit, the Chiefs are going to win this. This is bad.
That's the bigger storyline. And that's why who actually ended up winning the postseason Ricks versus Gricks.
Was it you? Oh yeah, because you got the tiebreaker. Purple Gatorade, Black History Month. But okay, so I want to dive into the commercials here with Zoo, and then we will get to the halftime show because I want to hear your halftime show thoughts, Scott, and how you can apparently you'll fix the halftime show. But
Yep.
Zoo, the commercials, I kind of agree with Scott. I thought I liked them during the actual game. Like, I thought I was enjoying the commercials, and now thinking on it, not even a week later, I can't really remember any of them outside of a couple, including, I mean, the ones I remember the most were the trailers. And that's what it seems to be like every year, these debut trailers. So, Deadpool 3 geeks me out. But then I didn't know they were making a sequel to Twister. And I got very excited during the Super Bowl for this for Twisters. And when I saw that the name was Twisters, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be the 90s shitstorm of a movie I've been waiting for. This is going to be awesome."
Oh my god, I didn't even see that. I just Googled it. Fuck off.
Oh, it's great. Glenn Powell. Oh my god, he's going to be perfect. He's playing like overly cocky tornado chaser, and now they're chasing twins. Oh, it's going to be crazy.
I hate
But
it.
I mean, between that, like the only commercials like I can really remember were the Dunkings with Ben Affleck and Tom Brady and Matt Damon, which I thought was really funny. The I think it was a YouTube TV commercial with all the bird team, all the bird NFL teams players like flying away and migrating for this year.
I wish I saw that one.
Oh, I think it was somewhere near the start. That was a really interesting one. And then one that the national audience wouldn't know, but I hope they seek out, which was it was in the DMV and it was for I don't know if it was like FH Fur Plumbing and Heating and Air or some heating and air, area for DC. And Joe Jacoby, famous Washington football legend, was in the
Hog.
commercial and just kept saying, you call, get your plumbing fix, just over and over. And it was just it was like this real kid friendly ad. And then like they're doing the jingle at the end, and you just hear like a shink, like a axe go down, and like somebody scream, and like this gushing, crunching sound. And the last part of the commercial is like some dude holding like his like hand with like fingers chopped off and shit, and saying, I just lost half my hand. I need my plumbing fixed." And I don't know like what the hell it was, but it was like a horror show and a nightmare. And the only thing I remember from the commercials now. So that was my thought on commercials. I think perfectly mid, like Scott said. Zoo, where were you with the commercials this year?
Yeah, commercials were mid. You mentioned two of the ones out of my list. So Duncan was awesome. It was just great seeing that cast and everyone goofing off. And one of the things that like the party that I was at was doing was everyone was trying to guess the brand before like the commercial unveiled it. So that kind of made it a little entertaining. But then by the time I got home from the night, like there was only one that I like genuinely remembered as being funny. So Duncan was funny in the moment. Deadpool and Wolverine, like that was really cool. Um, the two that I really, really enjoyed, but I saw like the week leading up to the Super Bowl is the John Krasinski one where it was
Oh, that was yeah, the
yeah, the
trailer for
office
If.
references.
Yeah.
Um so that one was really funny, but again I saw it before. And then Aubrey Plaza's Mountain Dew commercials was great. I That probably would have been my favorite commercial like had I seen it on its own. So those 4 were great, but the one that, like, I hadn't seen yet and genuinely made me crack up was the Discover card of, "Am I a robot?" She was, like,
Oh,
talking on
yeah.
the support line. It was just kind of like, "Are you a robot?" She was like,
Am I a robot?
"Am
Am I
I?
bro?
Oh, is that the
How do
Jennifer
I
Coolidge
prove that to
commercial?
you?" Like, just the delivery of that line and the awkward silence and the shock of just contemplating life. Everything about that was like, yes, like, given the parameters of me watching, like, all these commercials, like, whether I had seen it before or not, this and that, like, that one was definitely the best.
AI was like really heavy during this too because there was
Mhm.
like this one commercial for AI or I thought it was for AI and the promotion of it and maybe like some new AI website and then it showed that the people behind the AI sitting in cubicles were the minions and it turned out to just be an AI teaser trailer for Despicable Me 4 and then of course we had AI Jesus washing feet and he gets us ads. I feel like Scott had something for those ads.
Yeah. And I'll try to drum up the passion that I did when me and you were ranting when I was just ranting about it before we started recording.
The
But
passion of the AI
it it it
Christ.
it, it, it blows my mind that year in and year out the buying price to get a ad spot in the Super Bowl just keeps going up. It's never going to go down. It's always going to keep going with the market. But the amount of how many spots did you? I think I counted like 4 or 5
Yeah,
of those ads.
they were like a slight second to Timu.
Right. Fucking Timo.
Now I
Don't
know
get
the
started on that.
pronunciation of Temu.
Yeah.
But like the amount of money that they had dumped into running those ads, I feel like Jesus would have wanted you to give the money back to the community in some way to be doing something, whether it's using the money for, homeless shelters or food banks or something. But no, you decided to buy 5, 6 TV spots of Jesus washing people's feet.
But they gave it to another nonprofit organization, which is the NFL. I said that at the party, and everyone was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, NFL is a nonprofit organization."
But and then the only other commercials that kind of stuck out in my brain was a Duolingo commercial of the bird getting his butt pumped up and getting all nice and juicy. Did you not see that one?
No,
I did not see that one.
He was cheap. I mean, you want to talk about cake or caking? He was caking. He was thicked up. I'll have to find that one and send it to you.
What game were
There's
you
that
watching?
one, and then there's the did you see the Kanye West commercial spot?
No, okay, was that real? Because I saw like a TikTok of that Kanye
Right. So
had
I
an
didn't think
ad,
it
but I
was
thought it
real.
was like in some areas maybe.
Right. It might have been in some areas. So like that's where I saw it was on TikTok, but I missed like the first quarter of the game because I was trying to pirate the game instead of giving Paramount Plus my money. But they got it anyway. So maybe I had missed it. But the other commercial that had me just rolling was the Paramount Plus commercial with
that was
Patrick Stewart. Shut your mouth, Barrymore. And then he just throws Hey Arnold.
that was another one I saw
before.
beforehand.
It was so funny.
Paramount Mountain's always great. You can never go wrong with that. I love little crossovers, especially
What
of
was,
all these
what was the
characters.
last part of it where it was like, "Oh, if only we had some real pig skin," and it goes over to
Oh, to Peppa Pig.
Throw the child.
Well, okay. Final thing that we'll touch on here with the Super Bowl is the halftime show. And Usher, baby, he was on one during this. I'll say this about the show. I don't know how you felt, Zoo, and we'll get to Scott on it, but I thought it started out mid. I wound up actually liking this. I thought it started mid. I thought he did a few too many slow songs for the Super Bowl. I like his slow songs, but it's not working for me for a Super Bowl halftime show. And then it started to turn up. Alicia Keys very much caught my attention. We've gone over that. And then who came on after that? Was it her? I think her came on, which I bet in households across America was probably the greatest game of who's on first. Like the greatest new who's on first between kids and their parents who have never heard of her and are asking, who's she? That's her. Yeah, who is that?
Oh.
That's her. But I thought her guitar riff was awesome. And then they got onto roller skates, which that's what sealed the deal for me. It's high risk, high reward. Like you could have easily busted his ass, and I was expecting him to bust his ass at some point.
Also, it was
Yeah,
genius
close.
that they had the stage to where, like, in the direction that they were skating, there was motion going that way to make it look like they were going like a lot further than they actually were.
Right.
So, from like a set design aspect, that was just incredible decision making.
Oh yeah, and then you had.
I was like, they're only taking like 2 steps. Like, they're really not going that far, but it's like whoosh, whoosh.
Oh, the one that you're forgetting in between her and Alicia Keys is Jermaine Dupri because everyone thought it was CeeLo Green.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I had no idea who that was.
I had no idea who it was in the moment. My mom asked if it was Little John. I was like, absolutely. I was like, you racist.
No.
I was like, that's closer to CeeLo. Like,
in February, Mom.
In February. No, like he looked like the little lad who loves berries and cream.
Oh God.
But they went from that, and then Lil Jon like really got the shit going with "Turn Down for What," and then like screaming in the middle, "Turn down for what? Shit!" And just like live air, NFL got it through it. Ludacris comes out, has old heads going crazy all over the country. I thought it was an awesome end to the performance. Zoo, I don't know what your thoughts were on it. I'm curious to know from both of you too, like how you feel about just how TV made the Super Bowl halftime show is. Like, it doesn't feel like something that would be enjoyable if you're there. but it's like a fully TV made production now. Zoo, what were your thoughts from halftime?
I mean, but the way that they're making displays in these stadiums, like you can still watch it pretty comfortably, like from that TV perspective.
It's true.
Especially if you have places like SoFi and AT&T and all them. Like, yeah, I'm sure it looks great on the displays that they have there. But overall, like I enjoy Usher songs, but I don't have like a huge catalog of them, if that makes sense. So I think I enjoyed like the second half of the show more than the first because more songs that I recognized started to come in. The whole thing about like they said I'd never be here, it's like you were there in 2011. Like you've been here before and you butchered that because you had a bad day and Will.i.am had to do the song for you because okay, I mean you're back. I was excited. I was excited that it was Usher and I think it was, just like the rest of the word of the day, it was mid. It was fine. I enjoyed the back half more than the first. Lil Jon Ludacris was a lot of fun when they did come up. He's can still sing, he can still dance. Like I said, the stage production was incredible. I pay attention to that a lot. So overall, it was well done, but I don't think it's going to be one of my more memorable ones.
I completely forgot about Will.i.am being there, Scott. I forgot, and I was worried for a second when
Yep.
he first came out that it was Kanye. Like I was a little scared. I was like, "Oh
Uh-oh.
shit."
Is this whole thing about Taylor getting Kanye removed from the Super Bowl thing real? Have you guys heard that?
I've
According to
heard grumblings.
Brandon Marshall says it's real. I haven't heard that from anybody else though. I don't know how
Okay.
Brandon Marshall would have known.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Leave him alone.
So yeah, it was a fine Super Bowl. Not a huge memorable one.
Yeah,
The people that were at my party were just really mad that Justin Bieber didn't come up.
I mean, they had
Yeah,
they had that rumored all like for the last couple days before the Super Bowl. Like they even had a flight tracking him to Atlanta or to
when he was
wherever it
there,
was.
Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. Yeah, the Atlanta of
Right.
the West.
And you know what? And with you instinctively saying Atlanta leads me into my reasoning behind why the Super Bowl halftime show was mid.
God, we're so
Like
good
you
at
said,
transitions.
it was slow. Like you said, it was slow at the beginning. It definitely picked up the energy at the end. And side note, if you haven't looked it up, go back and rewatch when Ludacris is walking towards the camera this way, and you have all the strippers up on the pole doing their thing. Look to the LUD on the left. When she gets to the top, she just falls down. Like she falls off the pole at the bottom. So go rewatch that. So hopefully she's okay.
I didn't know there were strippers. I didn't know they were even doing that. I was so focused on Ludacris.
showed my cards.
Of course, this meme pops up as we're talking about this.
Oh, geez, I can only imagine what's in that thread right now. But yeah, like it picked up the energy, which is what you want to have in a Super Bowl halftime show. You want to keep the energy going because I mean, you can see videos and like pictures of the crowds. Like you said, Reed, like these halftime shows are more geared towards the audiences at home. I mean, and the audio at home was even bad. I could only imagine what it was like in the stadium.
It was weird, yeah.
And like you see these pictures of like people either just like standing there not moving or they're sitting there, and you can get down to all the music that was playing. Even with Alicia Keys out there, you can get down with that. But I feel like the biggest thing that the NFL is missing when it comes to booking the talent for these Super Bowl shows is tying it to the community where the team is at. So you're in Vegas. Like you said, when you think Usher, you think Atlanta. I'm getting so hyped up. I'm about to wreck my whole setup. But when you think Usher and Ludacris and Lil Jon, you think Atlanta. So that show would have gone off 20 times better if it was played in Atlanta. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And I think that,
no.
I mean, who
I'm
was
just thinking about Shakira and J-Lo in Miami.
Right. And that's the same thing. Like you're tying yourself to kind of like that fan base. Like Miami is really big on, Latin culture and things like that. You're kind of tying it all together. So it makes sense. But
so what's the Vegas artist that you would have wanted?
I would have had the Killers and Panic at the Disco. I would have seen all those happy little crackers screaming the white boy anthem of Mr. Brightside. Would have been insane of having that. That's what I would have done.
Panic at the Disco would have been a lot of fun.
Panic at Disco and the Killers, you just have these random little artists kind of come up. That would have been, I feel, would have been a lot more entertaining at that point. And it leads me into going again next year. It's in New Orleans. If it is anyone but Lil Wayne, I will not watch the halftime show.
I mean, Lil Wayne needs to be involved. Like at the very least.
Is not, no. He needs to be headlining the halftime show. Him. Bring in Master P. Bring in anybody else you want to bring in. I mean, hell, Reed knows this name really well. Bring Trombone Shorty on there.
I
Trombone Shorty.
was just about to say, get that collection of Trombone Shorty, John Batiste, Gary Clark, a couple of those other New Orleans guys in there to like really set it off.
Right. You're going to have these big brass bands kind of elements to it, the French Quarter and Bourbon Street kind of vibe to it. But like I said, like you're in a city, you should pay homage to the city itself with its music. So that's why it just felt like it just missed. I think I would have been more excited seeing Usher playing in Atlanta.
I was trying to remember who the Atlanta Super Bowl halftime show was. I was like, yeah, it was really Atlanta. And I looked it up. It was Maroon 5. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, that was when they butchered the SpongeBob.
Yeah. But they did have Big Boy there, but not Andre. It was unfortunate. All right. So, the NFL season's over. We've talked the Super Bowl. Now it's time to actually get into the season itself. And the best way to do that on this show, of course, is with a top 5. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to do the top 5 observations from this NFL season.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is the 323's Top 5.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
That's right, the top 5 observations from this past NFL season, according to the 323. We have all your favorites here. Scott Ellia, Zuhair Ali. We're each going to give you a top 5 list here of our observations. Did we put a lot of thought into this? You'll never know. So we'll start. I'll go ahead and kick this off and give you guys some time to like put it in order if you need to, and we'll close out with Scott. Zoo will go after me, and my first thought here at number 5, no OLIs for me, is that a year without Tom Brady. This is the first year in my lifetime watching the NFL that there was no Tom Brady, and a year without Tom Brady, it's very bizarre. But it definitely opened the door for like the new kings of quarterbacking, right? You have like I paid a lot more attention to Mahomes, a lot more attention to Josh Allen, Lamar, Burrow. It gave me reason to like get really excited about CJ Stroud in Houston. So it opens the door, but it was still weird. I think I got used to it by the end, and I definitely got used to it in the damn Super Bowl, as Mahomes now takes that Tom Brady role of like, do not leave that man anytime at the end of a game to go against you, because Brady was that horror story before. So that's my number 5. I miss Tom Brady, but I don't miss Tom Brady, and I guess we'll get him on Fox, and maybe he'll be super passive aggressive towards Mahomes during these games after he kicks Greg Olsen out of the booth. Zoo, your number 5?
My number 5 is the Jags still have a lot of work to do.
Oh, not the Jags.
They got their coach. They had a huge free agency splash. The AFC South was supposed to be mid at best. They were supposed to take over and be dynamic and have all their pieces together with their stud quarterback. None of that happened. None of that happened.
Weirdly mid-season by them. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Don't know what to make from that.
Didn't
Don't know
even
what
make
to
it to the playoffs.
I don't know what to make of their future, to be honest. I don't know how that works from here on. Calvin Ridley, kind of a disappointment, to the point that we might just get rid of him from the Calvin Ridley Memorial betting slip. I think, like, you brought him up during Super Week. Keyshawn Booty, damn good candidate. Got to get that booty. Scott, your number 5?
Number 5, simple question. What happened to Philly? I remember when, the Eagles they were 10-1, and, they were Super Bowl contenders about halfway through this past year. And it feels like it's so long ago. They dropped, their last 4 or 5, including, against the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Giants. They were banged up, but like their defense just couldn't stop anything. towards the end of the year. So I don't know what their outlook looks like going into next season.
Now we take their offensive coordinator.
And we put him on some assistant role. Yeah, go yourselves, Philly.
Yeah, he's they still haven't even announced the role yet. I think it's just like pass game coordinator. Unless what I sent you earlier today had an answer.
It's weird times. Go Washington. Interesting coaching choices there. I like it. Number 4 for me is, man, the referees. Holy shit. Like, it seems
head coach.
Reffing is getting bad just about every year. It just gets worse and worse. And I don't know what was going on this year. It just seemed like there was an awful call every single major game. Like, every week there was at least 2 calls that just caused outrage, and you couldn't keep up with any of the others that were happening in other games. I know miserably watching Commanders games, I was seeing lots of shitty calls by refs going towards both sides, but it was just infuriating. And I get that there's human error, and you're going to have that issue with, human refs. And I don't necessarily want them to lose their jobs to the robots, but I mean, shit, we're watching it at home, and it's still like to the point that we're getting it faster than they are, and we're getting calls more correctly than they are. They still can't even like process what a catch is in the NFL. So something needs to be done about the referees. Something needs to be done with officiating in the NFL. I'm sure they'll maybe address it in the offseason, but the union is really tough and strong. So
Minions with AI.
I would love minion referees. We need them. Zoo.
We got our Toy Story football game. Now we need our Minions one.
We also got our SpongeBob game. I don't know if you guys watched the Super Bowl, any of the Super Bowl. That seemed really fun as hell. Super Bowl from Bikini Bottom. Zoo, you're number 4.
Number 4 was the AFC. Ugh. Patriots. Ugh. Bills. Ugh. Jets. Ugh. Dolphins. Thought we were on to something, and then as soon as you make a team that can put up a fight, I mean, we thought that they were going to be super dynamic and the powerhouse, and like at the worst, the Patriots were going to be competent. No, none of that happened.
No. Scott, you're number 4?
Number 4 is that the NFC South is just still a mess. I mean, you got the Bucks who won out with a very mid 9-8 record this year. They won it last year in 2022, 8-9. But I mean, they're probably the most complete team, which is crazy to think about. I don't think it really matters who's under center. They're going to have to come away with it because you have, an inept owner and David Tepper in Carolina who, likes throwing drinks on people and fighting fans and doesn't know how to hire a coach. And then you have, Dennis Allen and Derek Carr kind of going at it time and time again. It's just like the NFC South is just a shit show. That's all it is.
Why do so many coaches bully Derek Carr? What is it about him that is just like a perpetuation for just fighting?
It's supposed to be his face. I mean, Arthur Smith almost wanted to throw shots at him too.
Maybe his country voice is just a little too intimidating. Boy, howdy.
From Fresno.
I'm Derek Carr. Talking about diabetes. Oh, number 3 for me. I should do it in my Derek Carr voice the entire time. Number 3, I'm also with Zoo on this one partially. The AFC. Woof. Not necessarily so much a woof, but like the veteran teams. Being the Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals, these teams whose windows we've been talking about closing or potentially, just shutting at some point soon for them, still whiffing. And I wonder where they go from here when you have the youth teams, which are, the Texans, the Dolphins, maybe the Colts, if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy, and maybe the Chargers. I mean, Scott picks the Chargers every year. And this might be, they get Jim Harbaugh now, so maybe they'll finally do it this time. And then the Chiefs, obviously, you can't doubt them anymore. They're all sealing the shit up. So where do we go from here with the Bills, Ravens, and Bengals? I don't know. I'm curious to see how they adjust next season. Zoo, number 3.
The NFC North can only go up, right? I mean, we saw how incredible the Lions and Packers played. They still have very young teams that they're able to build on. I had the Bears taking the division. Like, they still have 2 really high picks, including the number 1 overall. So it's like, they have all the tools to build off of. Are they going to utilize that? I think the Vikings is the only big question because you don't know what you're going to do with Kirk. Are you going to draft somebody else? You're going to move up to get your guy. What's up with the free agent? Are they going to be kind of like just are they the ones taking the step back? But overall, like, you would think the NFC North would be, a division worth stressing over on game week.
I'm as worried about the Vikings as I can be for a team that I don't really care about. Like, I'm worried about them, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Just because I think they're really going to screw themselves with this free agent situation they have between Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter, and not knowing who to pay, how to divvy up this money, and they're going to lose both of them. And next thing you know, you're just going to have the Vikings winding up with Sam Darnold leading them next season, hoping that Sam Darnold is Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith of next year, which it's a dangerous trend we're setting up in the NFL.
Oh God.
Scott, you're number 3.
Yeah, we're gonna stay there in the NFC North, and the Bears probably have like the most impossible decision to make going into this offseason. I mean, any choice they make with this first overall pick, there's gonna be scrutiny against it. So I feel like whatever choice they make, they need to own it and be, unapologetic for what they do. Ultimately, I feel like they're gonna trade that first pick, but no, the Bears, they definitely are in a tough spot.
I'm fully in the belief now of the exact opposite. I'm a full believer in them taking Caleb Williams and trading Fields. Did you see the betting odds, the betting lines shift the other night for Fields to the Steelers?
I did, and that would be very interesting for Tomlin to go from a undersized hand white boy to a quarterback of Justin Fields' caliber. I'd be very interested to see what he could do with that.
I thought you were going to say of Justin Fields' color.
Oh, not in February.
Oh my God,
Reed.
Trubisky went back to the Bears in that deal too.
They'd be lucky to get the MVP. Oh, number two here for me. Number 2 is my I won't say bandwidth, my fanwidth, my sports bandwidth here. I realized this season, maybe it's just me getting older, or I don't know what it is, but my bandwidth for digesting other sports during the NFL season is just an absolute 0. I could not focus on any other. I had no idea what the hell was going on in the NBA outside of the time Draymond Green got suspended for punching somebody, for punching Jokic, and then had to go to therapy. Like, I didn't know what was happening in baseball. I don't remember at all who won the World Series. I don't know any. Who did? The Rangers?
Rangers.
Damn, just spoiled the season for me.
Oh.
You could have told
He
me
was gonna rewatch it.
I was about to start my binge watch today of the entire MLB season.
You son of a bitch.
I can't keep up with anything else that's happening in sports, and now I feel like I'm getting like flooded with all this other stuff. Like, I'm even shit like WrestleMania is like flooding into my brain because I have to get some stuff to take up that void that the NFL is leaving there before the UFL gets here. And you find your boy over at a DC Defenders game going ham on the beer snake and the lemons being thrown onto the field.
Hopefully we can join this time. I really just want to be your cameraman.
I want to get you. Yeah, we all need to go. And they say no shows on the facilities. We can absolutely do a show outside of the stadium and see what drunken mayhem walks on by us at Audi Field.
Oh, God.
Zoo, your number Zoo?
The number Zoo. Eric Bieniemy offense. What happened? there was just so much hype of having a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator, one that worked with a great quarterback, one that worked with a great coach, one that everyone was speaking so highly of because he keeps you honest. And then we get that sick comeback in the Broncos game. We get those incredible 2 Eagles games. And then it was just, what happened? I mean, we had weapons. You had an off season to develop an offensive line. Didn't draft anybody, didn't sign anybody except for Nick Gates. Yay, you saw how their offensive line went. That was just really, really disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know where the blame has to go on that offense. It does keep me questioning what we do with quarterback because of Sam Howell. Like, I really don't feel like it was a fair season to him, especially with that Washington Post article coming out about Bieniemy and how he was treating play calling, how he tried to fight. I don't know. It was like he tried to fight, not fight, but argue and scream at Terry McLaurin during a practice. And I mean, when you're running the ball and you're like the 7th ranked rushing offense as you run the ball, keep fucking running the ball. Don't get away with it from it. This isn't the Chiefs anymore. You don't have Patrick Mahomes. Sam Howell could be really good, but he's not Mahomes at all right now. He's still learning the game, so help the dude out. I don't feel like he got a fair shot this year, but I also don't know how you can pass up necessarily if you think that somebody's generational at number 2. So confusing times. We got plenty of off season to stress about this.
Yeah, just one of the newest things that I've been hearing is that, say they take Drake May at 2 and they somehow keep Brissett or somebody of that caliber to just be like the mentor backup. You're going to have Sam Howell from being the 17-game starter to the 3rd string inactive. That's
the Rex Grossman. That's the Rex Grossman specialty, buddy.
He was towards the end of his career when that happened. We're talking about it like a 22, 23-year-old.
Hey, don't doubt Sam Howell. Could be into coaching and soon. We can get him there.
Like Heineke.
Get him to the XFL or the UFL so we can have him at DC Defenders games with your boys, the 323. We'll keep communicating that message. More than awesome, Con. Scott, your number, Zoo?
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't know what I'm more disgusted with. Your joke not landing or Zoo's Christoph Waltz impression that he did before he went with his number 2.
A joke can never not land for me. I will burn
still
that
up
shit
there.
into the ground. Yeah, I'll keep that ball up in the air
it's
like
still going.
That's a Josh Allen Hail Mary.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned something about lingering around, and that's Bill Belichick lingered around one too many seasons there in New England. I mean, this was New England's, I think, worst season since the early 90s. So, yeah, I mean, the best thing he did, aside from winning all those Super Bowls there with Tom Brady, was at least securing a top 3 pick for him.
It's a good going.
Nice. Defensive vacancy in San Fran now.
Oh my God! What if Belichick was the defensive coordinator?
Oh, God.
I was gonna joke about Rivera earlier, but that would be more entertaining.
Well, where did he get an interview at? He had an interview. Was it for Dallas?
He had an interview
Dallas and Philly.
Yeah, Dallas and Philly. I'm surprised he didn't just round it out with the New York Giants.
Just go.
Oh my gosh. Well, number 1 for me, the biggest observation I had from this season, and I've learned my lesson. I've said it countless times, but I can't say it enough. You cannot doubt Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid anymore. This team should not have done well. Like they should have been like a 1st round loss, maybe 2nd round. But I doubted them all season. I doubted them every game in the playoffs. I said I wasn't going to do it in the Super Bowl, and I still picked the Niners because I couldn't bring myself to do it. And then they benched Kadarius Toney, and all their problems were fixed. Everything was solved. Mahomes does not need.
We're going to the XFL.
He's proven that he doesn't need a number 1 wide receiver. I mean, you could consider Kelsey that, I guess, but he's still a tight end and an aging tight end at that. Like we've seen that through the season. Like Mahomes can do this shit on his own, and it's very few quarterbacks that can ever do that. Peyton Manning was one of those. who would make his receivers stars. They'd go away, they'd be shitty. Tom Brady would do the same to an extent. But good Lord, man. I mean, 6 years as a starter, 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 4 appearances, 2-time MVP, all the All-Pros, all the Pro Bowls. Like, it's crazy what he and Andy Reid are doing. We'll have that debate, I'm sure, sometime in the near future of where the magic is really coming from. Is it's all Mahomes or is a lot of it Andy Reid? I think it's just the perfect combination. It's an all-time combination now of quarterback coach. It's at the point that I learned my lesson with Brady when he hit 6 Super Bowls of I'm going to stop hating on this dude. I'm just going to appreciate what I'm watching. And that's what I got to do with Mahomes now. I just got to appreciate the greatness.
The Super Bowl so I can watch him play flag football.
I do want to see him play flag football, and maybe the Olympics. Maybe that's what we need in the Olympics. Zoo, you're number 1.
My number 1 is holy crap, Houston.
Yeah.
They got rid of a lot of toxicity over there. They had a real shit season, and then they capitalized on their picks and free agency, and like that is a team that the city wants to rally around. It is a team that has a lot of fight. It's a team that has a really bright future, and it's just incredible to see like how much they've been able to turn it around in such a short time.
100% right. 100% right. I'm very excited about them, and just looking at their defense and how young those stars are on defense between Will Anderson, Christian Harris has taken off at linebacker. Yeah, Derek Stingley Jr., Henry 202. I don't even think got to play that much, but middle linebacker for them that they drafted last year. I think he'll be pretty great. The whole team is really exciting. Tank Dell getting healthy at wide receiver. Nico Collins being a stud that I trade away right at the most pivotal time of my fantasy season. Yeah.
Texans the Predator's still not playing.
Yeah, Predator still being shitty. Look at that. You get rid of him and it works out. Scott, your number 1 observation from the NFL season.
My number 1 observation from this past NFL season is that the Green Bay Packers do not miss on quarterbacks. I mean, you had Brett Favre in the 90s, early 2000s, and then leads into Aaron Rodgers, and then this past season was the first Jordan Love season. And just to kind of talk about stats, I mean, Aaron Rodgers last year went 8-9 through 26 touchdowns, 12 picks for 3,600 yards. Jordan Love this season went 9-8. Threw for over 4,100 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Oh, and with like sub 25 wide receivers. I mean, you had names like Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watson, a lot of these young guys who nobody knows who they are, and he was still able to produce.
And I think a lot of credit goes to Matt LaFleur too. Like he erased a lot of doubt for me. Like that dude can coach. That team is good as hell. They're going to be fun to watch next year. Happy for Jordan Love. Very jealous of that fan base and organization because, as you say, you go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Absolute insanity. You get a little Matt Flynn sprinkled in there, and it's just magic.
I forgot that was even a person.
Oh my God, I loved Matt Flynn. I thought he was going to be the next John Beck. When he started, when I thought John Beck was going to be a Hall of Famer. Hey, that's the NFL season. As reported from the 323, it's kind of a sad time, isn't it? We talked about it a little bit last week, but it's a little sad that, you know, this holy trinity here that we have of you guys. We've been doing NFL coverage all year, and now it's done. Now we'll get into off-season talk and all that, but there's other sports, but it's been great to have you two every single week, just about. Sometimes it was some combination of the three of us and Luis throughout the year. But I very much appreciate these two. Scott Ellia, of course, of the 323 College Shame Day. Zuhair Ali of the Animation Deliberation Podcast. Love you guys. Appreciate you. We will all be together, plus a couple more great friends over at AwesomeCon in Washington, D.C. on March 8th. Look at Scott shoving his face to the hearts and love coming from Zoo's box down there.
Oh, I could never shoo Zoo's love from his box away ever. No, I'm scrunching my face because I just saw that Rob Manfred said he's going to step down as commissioner in 2029. That's in 5 years. Why are you even announcing that right now?
Because everybody will forget. It'll make people happy right now, and then they'll forget. Just like I remember Roger Goodell said he was going to leave the commissioner position back in like 2018, and look where we're at.
Oh, can we get a quick congrats to Caitlin Clark?
Yes, a big congrats to Caitlin Clark. What was the record there that she had?
Crap.
Iowa women's basketball star phenom.
Yeah, it was previously set by Washington's Kelsey Plum at 3,527. Caitlin Clark of Iowa has now surpassed that tonight in the game.
Caitlin Clark, man, is a badass. Like, she is awesome. She is like really. She and Angel Reese are creating a huge narrative and an awesome story arc, going into their way into the WNBA. That you're kind of getting this, what they're going to try to frame as kind of like a new magic bird between the two of them, and like it makes you forget that they also have like Paige Beckers over at UConn,
oh, shit.
who was also the big star before the two of them took over, and she tore her ACL and missed the season. So you're getting a lot of awesome youth wave coming into the WNBA, which is really awesome. And then you're seeing that NBA All-Star weekend this week. Steph Curry is going to take on Sabrina Ionescu, who broke his 3-point contest record at last year's WNBA All-Star event. He's going to take her on in like a special 3-point contest. So It's really awesome to see women in basketball. Scott, what'd you have there? I saw you laughing. I'm scared.
You saw me laughing. Fairleigh Dickinson's men's basketball team got stuck in an elevator, which caused them to, I think they postponed the game or they canceled the game against Long Island University. When ESPN reached out to Fairleigh Dickinson's special assistant to the athletic director, Jordan Sarnoff, for a response to what happened, Jordan said, "It got stuck."
Thank you.
Wonderful. That's all you need to know is it got stuck. What else do you need to know? See, this is what, and we'll get more into it in the future. This is what I want to do going forward to keep this trio together, is like a little, a potluck, a podluck. A podluck. Ooh, what a tease there. We need to do it just for the name now. Podluck of stories and topics to bring about, because how else would you hear about Fairleigh Dickinson? That's what the 323 is all about. That's what you get with Scott Ellie of the 323 College Shame Day, Zuhair Ali of the Animation Deliberation Podcast. You can check our beautiful faces out on the 323 Network YouTube page if you're only listening there, or if you want the pod to go, you can get the whole thing wherever you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you want to do. Patreon at patreon.com/323read. Of course, we'll have plenty of info on Awesome Con March 8th, Friday, March 8th, 9:15 p.m. The big room, 207A. Yeah, 207A. B will be right there. You don't need to know. It'll be right there. If you wind up in some like hentai, one of those like hentai panels and stuff, it's not us. Go to the next room. We're right there.
It might be Griffin, but it might be not one of us.
Griffin's hosting that one.
That's another animation deliberation.
Animation deliberation after dark.
Nice.
80. But for the 323, in the meantime, I am your host, Reed Murphy. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you very much.